and gentlemen, distinguished speakers, thank you for taking time off your busy schedules to join us here today for the Huawei Tech for City community event, Nature, the crucial role of technology in environmental protection. I'm Genevieve and I'll be your host for today. So Huawei entered Singapore market in 2001, and we have been working closely with our local community partners for the past 21 years to digitalize businesses and revolutionize the way we live, work, and play. It is with this spirit in mind that we are embarking on this Tech for City initiative for us to give back to the community in Singapore. So maybe let me share a bit about the Tech for City competition. It was launched just last month, and it is an ideation competition that is used to inspire our youths to build a dynamic and change-making community for a more sustainable Singapore. For the months of June to August, we will have 3 separate sharing sessions like the one that we have today for the different themes of our competition, namely nature, culture, and neighbor. So this is a brief of our competition timeline. Okay, so at around end August, our participants will be encouraged to submit their proposals, and there will be a shortlisting of the top 10 proposals at the early September. And from mid-September to end September onwards, there will be mentoring and coaching sessions for the finalist teams. And by the end of September, we will shortlist the top winning team, and they will be winning attractive prizes of Sing$ 10,000, and also, of course, the networking opportunities that they have in all these sharing sessions, and also availability to join the Huawei programs, and for them to make a real chance to make their ideas come to life. So we are also very happy to have with us Mr. Edward Tay today, and he will be one of our advisory council members. Yes, hi, thanks Edward. So he will form part of the judging panel at the finals. And also we would like to take this chance and opportunity to thank our various partners, including non-profit organization Business China Singapore, and our local universities, National University of Singapore Business School, NUS Enterprise, as well as Singapore University of Technology and Design, SUTD. Thank you for making this competition together with us. Now let me bring you through a bit on the agenda for today. So the first hour, we will hear speeches from our 4 esteemed speakers who are from academia, community organizations, and also our Huawei internal experts. And they will share about the real challenges day-to-day in environmental conservation, and also some successful cases of how technology supports and enhances the coexistence between nature and mankind. After that, we will have a bit of a half-an-hour panel discussion and also questions and answer. So as you can see on the right, there will be this screen, this QR code, where it links to a Slido, and you can submit your questions over there, and these questions will be answered at the Q&A session afterwards. And then towards the end, it will be a tour of our Huawei AI Lab, and also a great chance for everyone to be doing networking. And for the participants who have come here today and have not teamed up yet, it's also your chance to network and also find your like-minded team members. So, and also, I believe some of you have signed up but might not have the best ideas, or you want some help in shaping your ideas. We also have our internal expert who will be able to share with you all at a clinic session later. So, okay, moving on for today's main topic, which is about nature. We will discuss how we can leverage on technologies to reduce carbon emissions, protect and even enhance our biodiversity, natural and built environment in Singapore. So before we start, please ensure that your mobile phones are switched to silent mode, and also only remove your mask when you are eating or drinking. Now, please join me in introducing our speakers for today. So first up, we have Professor Lam Kee Po, Provost Chair, Professor of Architecture and Built Environment, NUS. Professor Lam is architect and researcher who specializes in computational design support systems for total building performance analysis and building diagnostics. So today, Prof. Lam will share with us about symbiosis, the ultimate challenge in the tech-enhanced habitat. Prof. Lam, please.
Okay, Genevieve. So I'm told I can take out the mask because I'm far away from you. Okay, down. Well, very good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me. By the way, Genevieve was my former colleague from NUS, and so part of the reason why I'm here is to continue that relationship, collaboration, with industry. So thank you very much for inviting me. I have about 10-15 minutes. So the topic of symbiosis. I wanted to really give some overview of the kind of definitions of the theme, right? When we talk about the man-made and the built environment. So to really introduce this concept first, so that as we talk about technology, we can then fit it into that context of which we are trying to enhance and make better. So before we talk about the idea of symbiosis, this is a word that everybody is familiar with, ecology. Yeah? Now the definition of ecology is really about the relationship between organisms, living organisms, including the human being, with their environment, okay? Now this is a picture of Pittsburgh, where actually I went and did my PhD, and also now it's my home in the United States, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. These pictures were taken in the 1940s and 50s, okay? That's the kind of environment, that's the kind of ecology that Pittsburgh used to be in the early industrial era, okay? Believe it or not, this picture was taken at 12 noon, in the middle of the noon. And the pollution was so bad that you can't see any daylight. So that's ecology on the bad side of things, all created because of our human existence, our human activities. This is Pittsburgh today, okay? So it gives us all a great optimistic hope that things can be better. It's just a question of having a vision to do it and do it well. So as you can see, Pittsburgh as a city has completely transformed over the last 30 to 40 years. They got rid of all the polluting, most of it. There's still a little bit left. All the polluting steel manufacturing, all the coal burning for power generation and all that, and created a clean and green environment. And Pittsburgh has been voted the most livable city in the United States on several occasions. They're always in the top 3 among all cities. And the journey continues because the leadership in the city have always continuously embraced the importance of sustainability and green development, okay? And as a city, it flourishes, quality of life is good, business is good, because it does attract a lot of the clean industries that are coming to this situation now, right? So it gives us a lot of hope, and this happened literally over 30 years, 40 years, which is not that long, right, in the history of beings. So in that context, what is symbiosis then? Symbiosis really dwells down to look at the relationships between different organisms, right? Again, human beings are part of the equation too. What is that relationship that is they are living in close physical association, right? So this is symbiosis. It's about that study of these living organisms. And if you Google, you see all interesting pictures that try to explain what symbiosis is, okay? And I like this cartoon that sort of very simply and very clearly demonstrate the kind of interaction, types of symbiosis, starting from mutualism and then commensalism and parasitism. This is all a little bit theoretical, but what it is trying to tell us is that in this whole symbiotic relationship, there are good and bad, right? It's not all in one direction. Unfortunately or fortunately, that's life. It's not either or. There will always be that complexity of the good and the not so good. So as we understand this relationship, obviously we try our best to cultivate mutualism where everybody wins, okay? We try to do that. And if our technology can enhance that to create, for example, environment that the sea animal can flourish, then the wildlife, the clownfish will come, and then it's all win-win. But in some cases, this is one side benefit, which is still fine, right? In this particular case, the commensalism, the barnacle sticks to the whale, and typically they go around the mouth because as the whale moves and swims through the water, the barnacles are getting a free lunch through the water that's come through, okay? And as far as the whale is concerned, it doesn't bother them, right? Although these barnacles, by the way, can weigh, if they grow and they stick to the whale, it can go as high as about 1,000 kilograms. But the whale is like many, many times bigger than that. So it doesn't matter. It's just like a little flea on the whale. So he's quite happy, right? And the barnacles can continue to benefit from that. But this is the problem, right? Parasitism, where one of the species clearly is at the disadvantage. And we've just gone through a big one, right? COVID, as an example, okay? And so this is where the challenge most of the time is, and we do a lot of work, and we try and get all kinds of technologies, including things like vaccine, right? To be able to handle that situation, right? Now, in some cases, this species might naturally occur, and but in many cases, these species by nature are separated. But then if we do something that inadvertently bring them together, then we are the ones to blame, to end up with this parasitism situation. So this is symbiosis in the nutshell. And this would be a good way of thinking through, as we confront the various challenges in our world today, which relationship are we talking about? And as I said, all the time, these relationships will always be there, whether you like it or not, in one way, in one form or another. And the worst thing is that when we are ignorant that this might be one of the relationships that we inadvertently encounter when we do something, right? And then created that problem to start with. So just this is symbiosis 101. And let me then end my short presentation with an example. When we think about technology intervention, we can have all kinds of ideas, and we do them and we test them, particularly in the university. It's, this part and parcel of our life. We don't expect everything to work perfectly. That's why we do research, that's why we test. But in some cases, those ideas get translated into real world and also create even more potential issues and problems. I particularly want to highlight this example of the so-called air towers. There are a few examples of this that started in China, and then India sort of say, oh, that's a good idea, let's do it, okay? So they built this massive tower in India, in New Delhi. Actually, they made two. This was just built last year, about August, September last year. And each of this tower cost about $2.5 million to build, okay? And the idea was, there's a bunch of 5,000 fans, filters rather, that's running and sucking the air from the top, cleaning it through a whole barrage of filters, and then bring the filtered air to the street level. That's the concept. Okay? First cost, as I say, about $2.5 million US dollars. Operational cost, because you need electricity to run the fans, it costs about 145,000 US dollars per year to operate. Okay? And the energy that it consumes per day is about 1.1 megawatt hours. Just to give you a context, and this is one tower sitting in, actually it's the Connaught Drive. Those of you from India, you know, New Delhi, huh? Connaught Drive, the roundabout place. The energy used to run this thing is 1.1 megawatt hours, which is the same amount, roughly the same amount that we are running our SDE4. You know our SDE4 building in NUS, the net zero energy building. Many of you would have seen news. That's the amount of energy we use to run that whole building per day. And almost the same amount, right? 1.1 megawatt hours, about 35 megawatt hours per month. So you can imagine, our building is 8,500 square meters. Just to give you some sense. And having done that, they all hope that the results, and this is high-tech stuff, would work. Turns out that it didn't, and created a lot of debate, a lot of argument, and to some extent a lot of embarrassment to the government, which is never very nice, because the government swear by it. And the results that they announced were not like that at all. Okay? Now, what's the main reason? The main reason is that the metrics that we measure our impact, the success factor, may be very different. If you measure the amount of pollutants of the air intake coming in here, filter through, and you measure what comes out, of course it's very good, right? But this is supposed to deal with this environment, the surrounding, which, by the way, has no boundaries. It's open air. How do we know? The wind is blowing in different directions, right? Sometimes it's blowing your pollutants there, sometimes it's not. So because there is no boundary, the scientific assumptions in this kind of technology just does not work. And so the measurement was far from what was so-called designed or theorized. Okay? So I use this as one example to highlight the fact that ideas are good, and let's not use this as a bad thing, so therefore don't explore. Please continue to explore. It's because of this sort of experiments that we are able to learn, right? That when we want to apply technology, it has to be in the context of the application, not just something you do in a lab or some simulation. And in fact, the university that did this is American University, with collaborating with the Indian University. So when they did this, even the simulation have shown that by the time you get to 1 kilometer, 5 kilometers away, there's little effect. The effect of the cleaning only happens literally around where the air is coming out. Okay? So this is the story. I wanted to use this to illustrate so that as the participants think about how to make use of technology, you've got to understand the basic fundamental concepts, right? Then to end up this paper, I was in preparing for this, there's this paper. I can share this, you can share this with everybody. If you go and look at this symbiosis between human beings and technology, it's a very interesting paper. And there are several lessons that come out of this analysis. And many of it has to do with the kind of enhancing the people, the well-being and the economic well-being, not just the physical well-being of the population you're trying to save. A study was done in the United States over several decades where IT technology had been invented and deployed, right, the Silicon Valleys and so on, tremendous increase in productivity, which is obviously quite common, right? We all know a lot of things are being developed to enhance productivity, and business have grown. However, they then correlated to the salaries of the people. Guess what? The salaries of the people did not increase so much. Productivity went up, salary is relatively flat. That's the United States case study. That tells us something about the motivation behind technology, right? Why are we doing what we're doing? Is it really going back to the symbiotic relationship? Are we being parasitic? Or are we really enhancing the well-being of people? Ultimately, it's about serving the people, serving the community. So let's take a holistic measure of those potential impact, right? So that when we do recommend, or the teams that recommend solutions would take a much more holistic look. You don't have to have the answer. I think it's important in competition is that you don't have to provide the answers per se, but raising the questions to say, subject to the caveats, right? Please check this, check this, check this, is equally important so that people do not forget and get too sort of helmed into the tech solution itself, which may or may not be a good thing. Okay, with that, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thanks, Prof. Lam, for the inspiring speech. Now for our second speaker, Ms. Kavita Prakashmani, CEO of Mandai Nature, is unable to join us today, but we are pleased to welcome Ms. Rupali Raghavan. She leads the terrestrial species and conservation planning programs at Mandai Nature, a Singapore-based non-profit conservation organization focusing on advancing nature conservation in Singapore and Asia. So today she'll be sharing about conservation, the role of technology in saving wildlife and wild places. Hi Rupali, your turn.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Huawei, for giving Mandai Nature this opportunity, and I'm happy to represent and share with you some learnings that we have on how we could possibly use technology to benefit species, wildlife, as well as wild spaces. So, I'm going in the opposite direction, sorry. As you can see, clearly technologically challenged. I am a wildlife biologist, so I never imagined that studying wildlife, being an animal geek, technology would ever play any role in my life, that I would ever use technology to actually benefit animals. But given how we are today, the world that we're living in, it's not just urban spaces, but then wildlife, forests, and green habitats are intricately linked to technological development and can actually benefit from the use of technology. And as Mandai Nature, we actually are working not only on species conservation, benefiting only single wildlife species, but also focusing on habitat protection, ecosystem management work, as well as engaging and supporting communities, all which have direct links to species benefit, species recovery. And hence, we feel that the use of technology to benefit species recovery is essential. I'm going to give you some examples of how we have been using technology within the Singapore context, as well as some regional examples. Anyone familiar with this tiny picture of the monkey that's on the top left corner? I'm sorry if the light is not good. I wanted to focus on the technology more than the animal. This is one of our 3 non-human primates that we have in Singapore, native to Singapore. It's called the Raffles's banded langur. It is a very arboreal, meaning living high up in the canopy, very shy, very elusive species. The human primate that you see in the photograph is Dr. Andy Ang. She is a researcher who's been supported by Mandai Nature for the last 10 years, who has been studying this primate in Singapore. And the population 10 years ago was only around 40 individuals, and we're really proud to say that we have over 70 individuals right now in Singapore. They're found in the Central Catchment Nature Reserve, hence in forest areas that are not very easily accessible, and observing them because they live high up in the trees is not very easy. So this photograph is actually of camera traps that we have set up in the canopies that will not only help us understand the family structure, understand how the animals live, what their habitat requirements are, what is their behavioral patterns, that we can ensure we can provide all for their needs to help growth of the numbers of their population within Singapore, but also to try and understand threats to them. Very often, as we have areas that are being developed, we are an urban space, we have modifications to our green spaces. It's essential to understand how that might impact the animals, and hence this similar camera trap was also put up across rope bridges that were set up across roads that were constructed in their habitat, and to see whether those rope bridges are actually benefiting the animals that are, and are they using the bridges? Are they actually not impacted as much by the change in the environment? So that is an example of how we feel technology can help us understand animals and help us actually study them in environments that we as individuals might not be able to access. Another example is within the Mandai precinct itself. If any of you have visited us recently, you would see that we have Ecolink that has been built right across Mandai Lake Road, that has been built specifically for ensuring that wildlife connectivity is not impacted with any of the work that is ongoing in the Mandai area. And this is part of our environmental management and mitigation plan. And at the moment, we have more than 40 of these camera traps that are set up in different locations, and they are data from that is actually collected in SD cards and analyzed every month on a monthly basis. And on an average, you would say you get around 500 photographs of per camera trap, and we have 40 of those. And it would take minimum of 7 man days to just go through the photographs to see, for one camera trap, to see whether there is any information, whether we are recording anything. These are sambar deer male, 2 male sambar deers that are actually sparring with each other in a territorial behavior, which is so rare to see. Seeing a sambar deer in Singapore itself is so rare, but capturing something like this is incredible. And we're really proud that Mandai, the Mandai precinct itself, is able to facilitate these natural behaviors, and we're able to keep records of this local wildlife that we have. But where does technology come in? We are actually trialing to see whether we could use artificial intelligence to comb through all the information, all the images that are captured in the camera traps, to try and at least do one first sieve to see whether there are animals or not, whether if the animals are there, what species it could be, to categorize those. And it's still in a very nascent stage. We haven't been able to adapt it, operationalize it, but that's a way in which we could drive and use technology to advance wildlife and species conservation. This is another project that I'd like to share of what we're doing in Singapore with a researcher. His name is Tan Min Kai. He actually studies crickets and katydids, those tiny little creatures that very often we might actually hear late at night. If you go out into a green space, you would hear cricket calls. Very, very difficult to see. So this particular project is him setting up acoustic recording devices in areas where crickets are found. And interestingly, the result of this project, we just concluded it in March this year, at least our support for now. And we have recorded calls for 14 new species of crickets in Singapore. So not only is technology assisting for us to study, observe, and monitor animals that we know existed, but also in discovering certain animals that we might not have realized were around here before. So the use of acoustic monitoring for wildlife is multi-layered. There are various purposes that we could use acoustics for, and this is one. Another one, I'm not sure if I can play the, just down. That's a call of a straw-headed bulbul. It's not found only in Singapore, it's found all over Southeast Asia, but it's critically endangered, meaning it's one step away from going extinct in the wild and in Southeast Asia. Whereas Singapore is recorded to be the stronghold for the population of straw-headed bulbuls simply because we are protecting our forests really well. We do not have illegal wildlife trade and poaching in Singapore forests, and the birds are breeding well, and the call that you heard is the reason why they're poached across Southeast Asia. They're used for songbird trade because people want to keep a bird with a pretty call in their house. So how we are using this, we are actually very proud to say that we've managed to understand how the straw-headed bulbul breed in the Jurong Bird Park, what are their breeding needs, and we have successful hatchings of animals in the bird park. And the use of audio acoustic technology recording, we are currently trying to associate different calls with different behavior, and that will help us also use it in the other countries across Southeast Asia to see if we could get audio recordings from other areas. We can understand whether the birds are breeding in those regions, are we getting breeding calls, are we only getting territorial calls, to try and get a sense of what is needed to facilitate species recovery across the geographic range as well. This is citizen science, of course, now in Singapore. This was with our partner Nature Society Singapore, and they use the iNaturalist platform to actually facilitate anyone and everyone to go through, observe nature, and their objective is to have every Singaporean to become a naturalist. So technology is the only way we can facilitate that, scale that up, take it to a wider level. So outreach, education, of course, technology is essential. I'm going to close with two examples of possible scenarios where technology could help, but currently not being used right now in Singapore. There's a photo from our port, our fishery port in Jurong. And we actually are, as Mandai, very conscious of the fish that we consume. We wanted to ensure that we have only certified sustainable fish served within our park premises. And we, in the process of doing that, realized that there are organizations that do use technology like blockchain to kind of identify where the source of fish is from, ensure that it is from a sustainable, validate that, and track it through the supply chain to ensure that the end consumer also is convinced and is aware that they are consuming fish that does not necessarily impact the environment in a negative way. So that is something we could explore. This is a project we're doing with a researcher in James Cook University. She's doing her PhD on this. So possibly the use of technology within Singapore's fishery system is something that we could also think about developing. And my pet project, or where I would love to see the use of technology if feasible, is, are you all aware of the pangolin? Singapore is very proud that we are a stronghold for the Sunda pangolin. It is again threatened by illegal wildlife trade in the rest of its geographic range, but we have a growing population, and many people have been lucky to see a Sunda pangolin in Singapore. And unfortunately, we still do not have an easy, reliable way of identifying how many we have, what their needs are. As we change our environment, are we able to provide for them as well? And we have tried fitting UHF, VHF tags on them. But if you see their scales, they're actually keratin just like our nails. And like our nails, they grow and they fall off. So attaching tags with glue, nails, etc. has all a very limited span. Also, they curl up, they burrow underground, they go through the bush, and so damages to the transmitters has been tremendous. And we've been successful maximum for 2 weeks of data from any pangolin that we have tagged and released. So this is a challenge out to all the tech geeks from the animal geek world. Is there a way we can try and find out how we can understand pangolins in Singapore given the knowledge and technology that we have? And I shall close my presentation with that.
Thank you, Rupali, for the interesting presentation about the acoustic technologies and also the tip that you have given our participants. Maybe you all can try out about the pangolin and see if we can have a way to solve that problem. Now, next up, we have Mr. Royston Liu. Royston is the co-founder and CEO of Ample Fresh Private Limited, specializing in vertical farming on facades as vertical greenery. So if you reach into your goodie bags in front of you, you'll be able to see this small packet of seeds. Yeah, we would like to thank Royston also for providing these seeds. These are fresh, leafy green seeds with a high germination rate. For instance, naipai, spinach, spring onion, and coriander. So do remember to store them in the fridge when you are not using them. So okay, let's welcome Royston, who will be speaking about innovation, a key ingredient to develop technologies towards a sustainable future. Royston, please.
Yes. Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. Okay, just a show of hands, maybe perhaps. Yeah, how many of you are actually 18 to 35 years old? Oh, great. Okay, we have a few. So, have you signed up for the competition yet? No? Yeah, if you haven't, just sign up, okay? It's very important. Why? Because, in fact, 1 year ago, I was actually in your shoes. And a bit more about myself. I'm also, like how Genevieve described, I'm a startup founder. And like all startup founders, it came from a business case competition, like this one. All right, so definitely if you want to change the world with one solution, sign up for it. Okay, so without further ado, maybe I can share with you why I'm going about sharing this entire thing. Because as youths, 18 to 35, we have the energy, and in fact, we are the leaders of the future, right? We have the energy to actually move very fast. At the same time, innovative, to think differently. So this is very important because we have a lot of problems. In fact, the pandemic was actually one of the problems. But of all problems comes with opportunity. So the bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. In fact, as you can see over here, this entire topic is about sustainability, environment. There's a lot of environmental problems today. And I don't see this as a problem, actually. I see this as an opportunity. In fact, every one of us should see this as an opportunity. So maybe perhaps I can share with you a bit more about how I did it and a bit more about Ample Fresh, my startup. So 10 months ago, I had this okay, before that actually, we had the lockdown period, right? The COVID-19 period. And then my parents actually challenged me to actually grow vegetables. So I'm actually like mid-20s, okay? Not very old, not very young, to be considered a youth as well. So mid-20s, just nice. And I just graduated from NTU, Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering, under the Food Science Technology wing. So my parents actually say that, hey, just grow some vegetables, man. You're a chemical engineer anyway. And so I did. I tried to apply my knowledge, and in fact, I realized that my fingers are very green, scientifically, very, very green. So green that I thought that perhaps I could change the world with it. And so I started growing vegetables everywhere, you know, from the kitchen, balcony, my bedroom, toilets, everywhere was not spared, okay? And I have so much vegetables, I had to end up giving it away to my neighbors because there were too many. And everyone said it was delicious because it was fresh, minutes from harvest, then we just eat it for dinner. So then I ran out of space. And then afterwards, that's a problem, right? Run out of space. Then the only thing left was actually the walls, right? The walls. So in fact, I see this as an opportunity. Push myself. How can I grow vegetables on the walls differently? Meaning to say, it's not like stacked. Like one panel, you get another aluminum frame on top and you grow another vegetable on top. Indoor lighting, no. That's a lot of energy. So no energy. My parents actually, kind of like scold me for that. But yeah, no energy. Okay, so I want it to grow it like a feature wall, like a facade. Think of it as like Oasia Hotel at Tanjong Pagar, right? The entire facade. So imagine the entire facade, instead of money plants, instead of climbers, ornamental plants, you grow vegetables with it. And it's not just on one building, every building in the world, okay? And that's how I actually had this vision. Cloud farming, okay? We coined this term cloud farming because it's remote, decentralized, everywhere in the world, and it's monitored through the cloud. The entire process is automated, meaning to say you only need to go back, the farmer, we only need to go back to the site to harvest the vegetables, that's it. And then, of course, drop it at your doorstep. In fact, this entire process is effective because it connects, not only are we using tech to connect the farm to your table, but we are connecting it directly in front of your doorstep, right? Think of it, if you open up your condo or maybe your apartment, HDB, you step out of the door, the first thing you see in the morning is actually this wall of vegetables greeting you every morning. Yeah, that's the idea I'm trying to imprint. And this is the vision that we have. And that's why we started with this. 10 months ago, we incorporated our company, AmpleFresh, and this is where we are. This is our 21 days old spinach. And in fact, okay, this was grown in January. We have actually grown a lot more than that already. So this is our 21 days old spinach, the xian cai, you know how should I say this? The san dan tang xian cai. Yes, correct. Yeah, so the one you add wolfberries inside and then you just turn into a soup. So we harvest it immediately and just cook it. And it tastes perfect, right? 21 days old, what you see is what you get. And definitely not the ones you see in the supermarket because they're all like lumpy and upset. But this one is fresh, minutes from harvest. Yeah. So importantly, the message to share with you guys is that innovation is actually key, right? You need to think differently. You need to step out of your comfort zone and to challenge yourself. This is a problem. How can I get past this problem? How can I do things differently? And in fact, it doesn't have to be something like revolutionary, like it doesn't have to be groundbreaking technology that the world has not invented before yet. It can be something that in your common life, like day to day, what do you see? What can you do? Just how can you do it differently? All right, and work towards it. Get a team. More importantly, you need a team. Okay, never walk alone because you can go far. No, you can go fast, but you cannot go far, right? So throughout this entire period, I put a team of 9 founders together with me as a team to actually work on me with this entire thing. I myself, I'm just a vegetable grower. I need mechanical engineers, professional engineers. I need business developers, how to pivot the entire business model. Yeah, so we need a team, all right? So the idea is that have a vision, get your team to believe in it, and work towards it, right? And start innovating, think differently. And as youths, we have the power to do so, and we have the runway. We are young, we have the energy. And of course, bear in mind, like how everyone has said, okay, if you want to do differently, how to think differently, you have to bear in mind the consequences as well. As leaders of the future, every single action we take, every solution we make has a consequence, right? So more importantly is to think of the fundamentals of everything, where it all started. So right now we have this wall, right, that we have developed a proprietary technology to prevent the nitrous oxide emissions of agriculture. So it's one of the greenhouse gases, right? That is the main greenhouse gas in agriculture. So we found a way to stop it. So in fact, it's carbon negative farming. It soaks up carbon dioxide and converts it into food on a large scale. For every kg of vegetable we grow, we soak in 1.3 kg of carbon dioxide. So that's the amount we're talking about, right? And if this is everywhere in the world, think of the impact. Every single building now has the power of a tree, right? Where it converts carbon dioxide to food on a large scale, okay? But importantly, like I mentioned again, when it comes to innovation, we have to not only think differently, but to understand the fundamentals. So greenhouse gases, we all know greenhouse gas is bad. More greenhouse gas leads to further global warming. But what is greenhouse gas? In fact, many of us actually forgot the fact that water is also a greenhouse gas. It is a greenhouse gas. In fact, water is 50% of the world's greenhouse gas. But why are we not targeting water? Why are we targeting carbon dioxide? Why are we targeting nitrous oxide? So it leads us to the basic fundamentals, like why are we doing this instead of that? And this will actually make us understand the intrinsic means and the fundamentals before we can actually think of a solution, right? So a bit more about it, why we actually target carbon dioxide instead is because water, we still need water. Yeah, that's it. And carbon dioxide actually leads to further global warming. The further global warming will lead to melting of ice caps. The melting of ice caps will lead to more water in the atmosphere, and that leads to a vicious cycle whereby the world just gets hotter and hotter day by day. And it multiplies, right? More water, more carbon dioxide, more nitrous oxides, and it just gets hotter and hotter, and it becomes irreversible if you don't stop it. So, good luck to all of you guys for the competition, and remember, every single of our action has consequences, but think differently. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Royston, and for your tips to all our participants today. And I'm sure we benefited a lot from your presentation about how your AmperFresh innovation can help to reduce carbon emission as well as solve the food security problem all at once. So next up, we will have with us, last but not least, Mr. Terry Gao, Managing Director of Digital Power Business Group in Huawei. And Terry believes that renewable energy will drive and support the growth of the future economy. So Terry's speech will be about Huawei Digital Power, building a low-carbon smart society. Terry, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I really enjoyed the first three speakers' speech. They are using the pictures, right? I think my slide's too wordy. Later, I change the strategy. I try to talk more and play small videos and give some. Later, I explain to everyone why I'm holding this. Okay. First, I just want to share, right, carbon neutrality really matters for everyone. I think we are hearing the word always talking about 2030, 2050, 2060, even 2070, right? What does it mean, right? So the carbon emissions will keep increasing. The power consumptions actually keep increasing. So many countries committed. In total, I'm not wrong, it's 44 countries committed. This actually by 2050, your carbon neutral will happen in their countries. For your reference, in Singapore, we also committed 2050, right? Immediately, what we understand for China, 2030, that's all. Actually, that's the maximum they go. They have to go downwards, right? So in Singapore, we heard about the cars, right? I think, I don't know how many of you actually own a car. May I have a show of hands? Right? How many of you drive, right? So but definitely you notice your petrol price actually increased from maybe, I think many years is $1 plus. And the year ago is $2 plus. Now it's even $3 plus, right? So for those who didn't drive, you also been hurt. You notice that your electrical bills increasing, right? So every month increase. That's affect everyone, right? Okay. First thing is why is it so important for the carbon neutrality happens, right? So where is the carbon came from, right? So I will say here is 40% of carbon from the power generations, right? Power electronics, right? So about the industry and transportation, day on day you take a bus, you drive, right? That's a contribution of about 25%, and some contribution from ICT industry as well, right? So everyone all the countries have realized that actually they realize actually that's something you have to do, right? So that's why Huawei is participate. We have some innovation technology to help from the power generation until the power consumptions to optimize it, right? So in the future, we'll see we call the terms called maybe a green power generations, or green ICTs means actually the government keeps in the data centers. It consumes too much power, right? You see they have a requirement PUE about below 1.3. Okay, travel, right? So you see many people buying a Tesla or buying whichever the EV cars, right? Yesterday I saw the news, even DHL, they committed half of their vehicles going to be electrical vehicles, right? So what we are doing is something related to charging, how you're going to charge your cars within a short time, right? Later we'll address on that. Last, actually, you see these are top buildings. Actually, that building is really our digital power HQ in Shenzhen, right? This building is very tall. Means imagine that maybe a Raffles City. Outside there's so many glasses, right? But latest technology will transform as a BIPV. It's really a solar panels being installed, right? But definitely we'd like to see more greenery to the buildings, maybe inside. Maybe outside actually we're using the solar panels to generate powers, right? Okay, let me continue on that. Right. Very quick one. What we are my division doing is in Huawei. Actually, we do a few things. First, actually set powers. What does it mean, right? It's more relevant for your mobile phones, right? Whichever means you're holding your mobile phones, you receive a 4G, 5G signals, right? That's a self station for the telco. But telco, that's a behind power supplies. Imagine you cannot believe all your complaint. Once your phone have no receptions, right? You complain Singtel, M1, StarHub, whichever. Right, means actually the power supply is down, right? So normally it shouldn't down. The battery will last for maybe 24 or 40 hours, right? This is what data centers, we do help the Singapore organization to build their data centers, okay? Smart PV, this is more details to be shared. I have a video to share, I don't talk too much, right? M-Powers, more related to the car and charging, right? Last, there's something I want to share. We call the module powers. But actually, that's why I try to hold this. I think this people will feel it's a small standard socket. But my home, actually, I transformed my home become a, not so-called a smart home, but easier for my living use, right? I do not need a power charger. In the past, you see now you're buying a Samsung, you buy a iPod, they don't give you a charger. But this is how we did. In front is still a small standard power plug. But we embedded with the power modules, right? Means actually you save your space at least, right? I won't say energy as if so long you charge, actually you have a full coming contributions, right? Okay, let me continue. Yeah, I like to use the picture to show what everything matters to you, surrounded by everyone, right? So what we did actually, some places, right? Even you see an example in the HDB house, right, on top of your rooftop. That's called a solar nova. So the government really invested the solar panels with Huawei technologies, maybe a management system, maybe our inverters, right, to generate the power. So meaning a lot your corridors when the is lighting up is powered by the solar. It's a free of energy. Also, it's a green energy, right? And this portion actually someone already saw on the news. This is a floating at open seas, right? So we collaborate with Sunseap together, which is generate about 5 megawatt at peak, right? So it's sufficient to serve 1,250 HDB 4-room homes, right? This is also green energies. Okay, many projects we are doing. Last, actually, a few things I already mentioned. Empower, it means actually you have EV cars to be charged, data center, and some for the cell phones, the towers, right? Cell stations. Right? Of course, all this is possibly managed by a cloud, right? Collect the necessary data, meaning actually you're going to optimize. You understand where this building costs so much, the electrical bills, other buildings save so much, right? All these things will be automatic with AI technology, help to optimize it, okay? Yeah. Okay, this is something related to you, maybe matters to you. Some of you maybe own a landed house, right? I think in the past, Singapore may not have a so-called good government policies fully funded your house to build a solar panel on top, actually to generate power for your home use, right? In the Europe, actually, they encourage the family to do this. Actually, everything may be paid by government. But in the past, actually, we feel too expensive. You want to build something, actually, within after 8 years or 10 years, your investment is back. But with current situations, right, we have more and more our friends or customers looking for us. Actually, they want to, hey, Terry, give me a solution. How can I do a power up my house using the green energies, right? First, actually, I want really it's so sexy. Everyone to do the reduce the carbon emissions, right? So they want to contribute some things. But plus on that, actually, with the current electrical prices, even next year, I think our GS is going to be up to 8%. It's going to cost you more, right? So it's something you can consider. Means of course the government is doing on that. Okay. The next, actually, I will give an example. Commercial industry, right? Many buildings, right, like Vivo cities on top, actually, or even Shangri-La hotels. I don't name too many, but just they're already doing that. So you notice actually if you stay in the HDB or even condominium, you look around, actually many lower buildings already converted the roof become a solar panel roofs, right? Okay. The last not least, actually is about this is really we call a solar farm, right? So it happens in Indonesia, Vietnam, even of course in China. So the solar farm really mega size, really a few hectares or 10 hectares, right? Means running 20 kilometers long. It's all the solar farm. It generates many powers, right? So of course, not applicable for Singapore. We have a limited land, right? But many things we can do. I think this is a video I'm trying to see. Yeah, 2 minutes video.
Before 2014, this land was a desert. But there was some who saw more. Where there was only waste, they saw rich, vibrant green.
It's a Yinchuan.
是那个情景，每天我们出来作业的人呢，实际是在一片的沙尘包围的这种一个环境当中作业。到了下班或者是干完以后呢，只能看见这2只眼和一个嘴，其他脸上都是沙子，每天都要洗一下。现在这个生态起到了翻天覆地的变化。完后呢，我们又把我们宁夏的特色产品有些已经种植上了。在这个过程当中呢，带动了当地农民来这边就业。从这个报告书，我们在这干是干这事，工作也非常的定，这家司机所以都好。在这儿我每天是干。
I think the Royston, you may consider in future we can work together. Your vegetable together with solar, right? Okay, right. That's pretty much as to summarize that. Huawei actually helping the commercial companies, right? Even for governments, right? A lot of projects, right? We provide inverters, right? Which convert the DC generated by the solar panel to become an AC, which become usable for everyone, right? And also actually we are doing the management system, right? Reason being actually is unbelievable. Solar panel, the farm is too big. You cannot be using your eyesight to audit the systems, if any issues, right? That's what we did so far, right? Actually in Singapore, actually majority Huawei, Singapore commercial industries, every single project related to Huawei, right? Just we're hiding you don't know our brands, actually not necessarily, just means this, we are behind the technology power up the solar farms, right? Okay. Next thing, I'm going to move very fast, right? My second portfolio doing actually we help our company build their data centers, right? So in the past, actually, traditionally we are normally you build a data center require maybe 2 years or 3 years. With the impact of the COVID, actually we lack of manpower, right? So we're doing prefabricated data centers. Majority the process happens in China. So then we move by ship, move it over and assemble it within maybe next 6 to 9 months we'll complete the project, right? And of course, reduce the lower POE means actually we are going to optimize the power usage. Okay. Let me move really fast. This is I'm trying to say some pictures of what the traditional build, and this one what we do is very pretty fast. Okay, let me continue this one. Okay, the prefab actually people may not aware. Singapore actually pretty much beyond the condominium, right? It's been so popular being used, right? Even in Singapore, our local reference case, right? The Crown Plaza Hotel, which is when you came back from overseas, right? The London in Singapore, that's a Crown Hotel. Actually, that's a prefabricated using a container to build. If you have a chance to stay inside, you won't realize that's a container, right? That's I'll give you an example, right? Now this is some reference. Okay, one thing in the past, you're using a 3G or 4G mobile phones, right? You realize even 2G, you realize your signal is quite good. I think for those really studying in the university, sometime in lecture you still feel you have signals, right? But nowadays, right? Even you subscribe 5G, you inside your lectures, you inside some rooms, you realize you do not have 5G signals. Even your hand can block your signals, right? What does it mean? Because that's the nature of the telecom transmissions of signals, right? Frequency is very high, high bandwidth. Actually, the distance is very short. So that actually is harmful for our environment. Means actually telco will install more cell stations because comparison to 4G, right? So this is some solution we suggested to the telcos, right? So don't like last time, you install more PowerPoints, you consume more power, right? And all the costs will transfer to our pocket, every consumers, right? We pay more for that. So this is something why not using a solar? It offset maybe a 20-30% of the usage for the equipment, right? I think it's just some ideas what we did. Last time actually so many telco equipments. Now everyone is solar panels, right? Okay, I think I'm going to close this with my last slides, right? Yes, Huawei, we haven't produced Huawei brand car yet, right? So far actually we are working on we call one thing is a Drive 1, which is really equal to your car engines, right? So we supply to the industry. So this is something we did. And second thing is charger, right? So this is onboard, that's called an onboard charging system, right? So Huawei also supply to the market. Last few things, right? Ultra high speed charging, right? This is what we produce, right? So in Singapore logic, actually I just give one example here, right? In Singapore, imagine if you reach somewhere, you just charge it 10 minutes to enable you to drive 200 kilometers, right? That's sufficient. Definitely is more than enough. I think this is the idea. Actually, once being approved, we'll bring this product to Singapore. Okay, so this is a high voltage DC fast charge. So the cable definitely that will be the future will reach to you very fast. So it's not something you need to change the battery or it's ready. Just so long the battery is the battery is really an industry matters, right? So yeah, currently imagine you go home, you charge it overnight. Very challenging. How many of us actually everyone own a landed house? Not possible, right? But 10 minutes very easy. Okay. Yeah. So pretty much this is a summary of my last slides. Actually, we do the number actually we get it from the 2021 up the year, right? So what we did, so we just we like to have a calculations. We help the world generate the powers, which is equivalent to the 320 million of trees, right? So we are the green companies. We help the society to reduce the carbon footprints. We help to generate the green power more. All right, thank you. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Maybe I'll leave this slide here for a while. It's impressive numbers, right? The amount of trees that we are saving. So, and also I'll pass this socket around so that everyone can take a look. Okay, now while my colleagues are changing the furniture and preparing for the panel discussion, maybe I'll encourage all of you to scan the QR code to submit the questions. I've seen some questions already. If you do not have other questions, you can also feel free to upvote the questions that you are interested to hear more about. And also, again, I'd like to share a bit more about the Tech for City competition. So this competition has been launched last month, and it's aimed to inspire youths to build a dynamic and change-making community towards a sustainable Singapore. So participants do not need to have any tech background and or any city planning experience. You just need to be youth between the age of 18 to 35. And if you have any examples or any ideas, groundbreaking ideas, we all welcome them. And the finalists will be able to receive mentorship and from our experts and also industry leaders to sharpen your ideas, chance to win the top cash prize of 10,000 Sing dollars, and more importantly, a real chance to impact the world. So if you are interested in this competition but do not have the ideas yet, welcome to find out more from our website. And then on our website, you will have, there's already 25 teams available. So you can check if there are teams that are still open for the team members to join in. You can get in touch with them and then team up together. Or after that, at the networking session, you can chit-chat with the people around here, the like-minded participants, and then we can sync you all up and you all can form the next team.